Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat and I'm trying to film as many videos as I can today while my husband watches our daughter. So let's get into it. This is my 2021 reading wrap up for the stats and my 2022 goals. So let's see how badly or how well I did for 2021. So I'm gonna put up the graphic here and scoot my boot over here. All right, hopefully you can see my face. I don't know. So in 2021, I read 113 books total. So the first goal I had was to read books with queer rep. My low goal was 40% and my high goal reach was 50%. And I actually read 53% queer rep books. So that means a main character or major characters in the book that are queer, part of the LGBTQIA++ spectrum. So pat myself on the back for that one. Queer rep isn't something that I struggle with because I'm naturally drawn to queer books, being queer myself. So next was to read non-binary authors because in 2020 and the years before that, I realized that I really hadn't read that many non-binary authors, which I think is a travesty. And just in general, if you're just picking up books, the majority of them are by men or women. And yeah, so I just wanted to keep an eye on that and look for non-binary authors that interest me. So I actually did end up reading 8%, which surpassed my reach goal of 6%. So I'm very pleased with that. And next is BIPOC authors. And as you can see by the huge red circle, this was the only goal that I failed. So my goal was to read 45 to 50% BIPOC authors, and I ended up reading 42%, which is 47 books. So 42% is by no means bad or poor. I was really close. If I'm being honest, just in December, I read 4 romance books back to back to back to back to back to back that were by white women, and that totally fucked this whole thing. But I don't regret it, but next year I'm aiming to do better. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then my next goal was to read translated books, and I wanted to read 15 to 20% translated, and I actually read 30% translated, which again, I'm really proud of because I really do like seeking out translated books. They don't always, for me, usually, they're either wonderful or terrible. Like, there seems to be no medium ground for me for translated books. I don't know why that is. But if you have some great translations that you've read recently, in the past, whatever, let me know down below because I always am on the lookout for more translated books. I don't know what these hands are. I don't know. All right, so the next one we have was to reduce books from the US, published in the US, because if you don't know, I've said in the past, I'll say it again, the US publishing houses dominate publishing. They dominate everything. So I like to make a concerted effort to read books that are published outside of the US because I just want to support them. So my goal was to read 40% or less, 30% or less, and I ended up reading 35% from the US. So I think that that is a really good job. Again, I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back here because it is actually really hard. That's one of the hardest goals that I have. Yeah, because just so many shiny books and then they're all from the US. So I'm glad about that. And one of my goals was to read less romance because in 2020 I had read 27% romance. And this year I read 18%, which was 20 books that were romance. However, I will tell you, coming up, I'm scrapping that because with a baby, I just like romance. It is comforting. You get the happy ending and, you know, you get the good times. So that is a goal that is leaving. We're not doing that again because if I want to read romance, I'm gonna read romance. And then the last goal for 2021 was to read 21 books in 2021, and I read 15 of them. So I read 71% of my 21 that I had. That will be a different video coming up. So for 2021, I had 1 fail and 6 successes. So I feel like I did pretty good because the fail was only off by 3%, so it was pretty close, I think. And yeah, so let's talk about some other fun stats I have that aren't part of my goals, but I just thought they were interesting real fast. So I actually read books from 26 different countries, and I'm just gonna name them for you because it's kind of interesting. I think it's kind of interesting. So in alphabetical order, I read from Angola, Argentina, Australia, Canada, China, Denmark, England, Fiji, France, Ireland, Italy, Jamaica, Japan, Korea, Mexico, Morocco, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Scotland, Senegal, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Taiwan, Trinidad, and the US, of course. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know, 26 countries. I wasn't trying, but that's kind of cool. And along the same lines, for translations, I keep track of what language they were originally written in. And I read 9 original languages. So obviously English, Japanese, Spanish, French, Chinese, Swedish, Korean, Dutch, and Italian. So I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. And for author gender, I read 71% female, 19% male, 8% non-binary, and 2% multiple. Multiple is like when there's an anthology and it has authors of multiple genders. And then the only other thing that I have to say is that for queer rep, queer rep is really messy to categorize, but I'll just kind of try to explain it. So if there was a main MM pairing, I read 22 of those, 37%. A main female-female pairing, I read 11 of those, 19%. Many queer rep, which means like there were so many queer representations in the book that I just put it in many. I read 9 of those at 15%. Non-binary rep, I read 9 of those, 15%. Queer rep, which is like they're queer, but they don't say exactly what they are. It's not exactly explicitly said. 6 of those, 10%, and then male-female pairing, 2, which was 3%. So male-female pairing is like, they're queer, you're not sure, but they identify as a man and a woman, but you know that they're queer, so it makes it a queer pairing, anyway, etc. So you'll see why I kind of categorize that for my 2022 goals. So let's get into my 2022 goals. Let me know what goals you're setting for 2022 because some of mine are very specific and it has to do with things that I either still really want to work on or that I completely failed at. So first up on the list, number 1 is the failure from last year. So BIPOC authors, I read 42% last year, and this year I want to make it 50% or 55%. Like 50% seems like a good number. Like it seems bizarre to me that like BIPOC and white wouldn't be 50-50, like, or even overcompensate BIPOC because there's so much overrepresentation of white. So for me, it needs to be 50-55 this year. I'm gonna do it. Non-binary authors, I am gonna do again because I think it's really important, because if I don't have it as a goal, I tend to not explicitly seek out non-binary authors. So I'm just aiming to be more than last year. So last year was 8%, this year 9 or 10. I want to reduce US. Again, I'd like to make it a third to 30% of my reading would be awesome. Queer rep, again, I read 53% with not much hassle, and it's again like BIPOC and white. I would really love to have at least half be queer and straight, if not more queer. So 50 to 60%. And then you're gonna see FF rep, which is a new one that I've never focused on before. And the reason why, I talked a bit about it earlier when I was talking about queer rep MM, many, non-binary, queer MF, etc. I realized like MM is so prevalent in queer rep and in romances that if you compare MM to FF, MM was 22 books and FF was 11. There were a bunch of other ones, but let's just focus on that for now. So male-male pairings, I read double female-female pairings. And I think that that's like an annoying statistic, and I want to try to remedy it. I know that MM romances, especially written by women, are oversaturating the queer romance realm. And not all of these are romance per se. Some of them are in action or adventure, fantasy, blah, blah, blah. But the pairings you see are often MM. And I know that it's oversaturated, so I want to like balance the other way and try to read more FF. So FF rep specifically, I want to read 25 to 30%. I think that it's doable. I think it will just require a bit of work on my part because, like I said, a lot of the books that I come across that are darker romances are either MM or MF. There are not that many darker FF romances. I have a few on my radar that I have written down to check out this year for my library or like that I'll buy. But please, if you have dark FF romance recs, I would really appreciate it. I'm talking like assassins. I'm talking like maybe killers or motorcycle gangs or, you know, like the darker side of romances. For some reason, and I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's not my cup of tea. A lot of the FF is like really sweet, like they run a bakery or they run a library or I don't know. It's really, really sweet. And I'm like, I get that. We love that for other people. I love it for them, for these fictional characters. I love that they're having sweet romances. I just don't want to fucking read about it. I want to read about an assassin who falls in love with like the head of her motorcycle gang. Where is that book? Like my favorite FFs of the past little while have been like Killer Mermaids, Ice Warrior, you know what I mean? Like, come on, like Killing Eve is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. We're talking like a female CIA agent and a female serial killer for hire. Like, come on. And I know that Killing Eve is a book, and yes, it is on my list. Or Villanelle is the name of the series. But yeah, if you have any dark FF romances or dark books that feature FF relationships, please let me know because I'm struggling. Okay, the next one is translations, which no one is surprised. I read 30% translated last year, and this year I would really like to get a third of my reading to be translated. That would be amazing. 33% to 40% would be even better. And then I have one that you might be like, that's weird, what is that? You're gonna see Af Ocean Sam. It means Africa, Oceania, and South America, because I realized I keep track of what continents I read from the most. And as you'd expect, it pretty much goes North America, Europe, Asia. No one is surprised. So I want to focus on the areas that I read from the least, which is Africa, Oceania, and South America. So I'd like to read from those geographical regions, 18 to 20%, because last year I read 15%. So it will be, I think, a bit harder because South America, usually for me, I really enjoy Mexican and Argentinian translated literature. I haven't been that lucky anywhere else. If you have recommendations, drop them below. Oceania, I've read a lot of Australian, not much else. Again, please help me out. And then Africa, a lot of it is Nigeria. I think the other places I did, Senegal, South Africa, a lot of it is Nigeria, and I'd like to read from more. And then the last goal is 22 in 2022, which I'm not going to tell you the books right now. That will be a separate video. But I have 22 books that I really want to smash out in 2022. They are a list full of the dark, the weird, the depraved, the queer, the translated, all of my hashtags on this channel. So those are my 2022 goals. Let me know what you think of them down below. Please let me know if you have any goals or if you are goalless, if you are lawless, goalless, you don't have any goals except to read the next book that catches your fancy, because I totally do that. I do that. These are like guidelines. They are, you know, my hopes and dreams for my ideal reading. But you know, sometimes I just want to bang out 4 books back to back that are monster, human, romance, dystopian. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you will, because I'm going to talk about it in a lot of my best of 2021s. So look forward to that. I'll see you in another video soon. Lots of love. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and bye for now. Toodaloo.